What is the most important, most expensive purchase you have in your lifetime? Well, it's not buying a car, even though they're getting up in price. It is buying a piece of property and buying your own home. It is a big deal. It is a very important decision. And who facilitates that for happening? Well, when you're working with a buyer's agent, it's that buyer's agent that's going to guide and coach you through the process. Look at this escrow folder right here. This property was on the market for 15 days before it received an offer. But look at all of the documentation that is here. And a lot of this documentation is from California Association of Realtors in order for us to keep everybody in the know, all the disclosures known, all of that, and to protect everybody legally is a lot of this documentation right here. I always say that I have at least a 2-inch escrow folder once we close escrow. So here's a perfect example of that. Whether you're a buyer's agent or a selling agent, you would have a folder like this working as a realtor. Now, we've had this big hoopla. I mean, everybody's talking about it. I get texts from people. I have friends I haven't heard from for a while, and they have been hooked into what the media is saying about what has happened with NAR. That is the National Association of Realtors. There was a settlement happening on last Friday, and it has to do with commissions. And commissions, of course, are negotiated. They're negotiated between today, what the selling parties are doing, and what we have always had is that the sellers negotiate the commission with their listing agent of what the listing agent earns and what the buyer's agent earns. Now, we have another myth that is out in the media right now. Real estate agents earn 6%. 3% for the buyer's agent, 3% for the selling agent. Well, let me tell you, here in the foothills, we do 5%, 2.5 for one agent, 2.5 for the other. Now, the outcome of the NAR decision is that in the MLS, you may not write in what the commission is to the buyer's agent. Now, it doesn't mean that the buyer's agent is not getting paid a commission, but we may not post it in the MLS. That is a change. Now, just recently, I have to say, I had a sit down with 3 of my sellers. I was writing up listing paperwork for us putting their homes on the market in April. Well, we talked about it, of course, because it's the big news. And one of them said, I saw on one of the articles that it's going to reduce prices for buyers. That is a myth. That is not going to happen. And I'll explain to you why in a little bit. But this change for NAR is happening in July. And being that I'm sitting down and going to be putting these 3 properties on the market in April, well, they won't be seeing me in July. We'll be sold. They'll be moved. So we're continuing with our practice of how we negotiate and how we set up commissions. Now, who really pays the commission? It is the buyers indirectly that pay the commission. When you think about it, you can list your house for $800,000, but if a buyer doesn't come in to say, I'm willing to pay for your house, then the commission agreement that's in the MLS doesn't even happen. It's the money that the buyers bring into the transaction that really does pay the commission. So what's going to happen now or after July is going to be that the selling agent is still going to be paid by the person they represent, which is the seller. And that typically in the mountains is 2.5%. What happens now with the buyer's agent? The buyer's agent is going to have a broker-buyer agreement because they are going to sign their buyer up to work with them exclusively because they're providing all these services of research and their knowledge over the years. And some people might say, well, they found the house themselves, so why would they work with that agent? Finding a house today for yourself is not a big deal. You just get on the internet. It's like shopping. It's easier than ordering something on Amazon, is to pull up some homes on Zillow or Realtor.com or other sites and find a home you want to see. That's the easiest part. The real big part of the duties that the buyer brings to the buyer's agent brings to the buyer is this kind of knowledge. All of the details, being there for the home inspection, being there for the pest inspection, reading over the seller property questionnaire, asking questions, asking clarification, digging into those disclosures so your buyer is protected and your buyer is going to know what they're purchasing if they move forward after negotiating an offer, after doing the courtship between the buyer and the sellers and agreeing to a price and terms and time frames and all of those things. Now, the buyer-broker agreement will be an agreement where there is an agreed upon commission that the buyer's agent is going to submit to the seller to say, when I bring the buyer to this house, I'm going to ask you for the customary in the past 2.5 commission. And the buyer knows that this is a commitment between the agent and them. Think about this. When you go to buy a car, do you know how much the car salesman makes as a commission? Or the roofing person who comes in and bids the roof at your house, what is their commission? You don't have those things posted. We're quite open in that regard, that this is the commission that is going to be asked. So the buyer is going to know that if the seller isn't going to pay for the buyer's agent commission, that the buyer is going to make sure that their agent that represents them is going to get a commission, and the buyer might be paying the commission. Well, don't you think if a buyer is paying that commission for their agent, that is going to reflect in the offer that they write to the seller? So either way, it's not changing the cost of housing, because if one party's paying or the other party's paying, that is still going to affect the price of the property in that regard. So I think that there's been so much hoopla about this, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. And you know what's going to happen? Let me tell you. The agents who do not represent their clients in a full facet in all ways and providing excellent service, those people are going to be out of business. If you don't add a lot of value to your services, guess what? You're not going to be able to be successful. And what will happen is some of the agents who are not hardworking enough, they will cease to be agents in the state of California. Let me tell you what I just completed. I have done a test like this 5 times. 5 times 4, every 4 years in the state of California, we need to be re-licensed. It's about a $300 cost to do this, or a little bit more maybe of how you do your training. I need to take 45 hours of training after being a realtor for 20 years. Every 4 years, I need to be certificated again and re-licensed. And what is interesting about that, as times change, our forms change, the world changes in how people get representation or close escrows, some of these courses also change. So I took a class for 3 hours on ethics, professional behavior, how to treat your clients, how to treat your colleagues, how to treat information, what are your ethical duties in the profession of real estate. Even information about trust funds and management of property. I'm not a property manager, but there's a lot of information here about property management, and also mortgage lending, how to protect your consumer from the mortgage lending industry. And also, fair housing. Do you know that the state of California has 21 different ways that people can be discriminated against? And just making sure that you are coaching your sellers or coaching your buyers to make sure that they're being fair in their actions in the process of purchasing a home. And there's another one which is called implicit bias, and how professionals can bring bias into influencing those people around them, and what is the standard of behavior that is appropriate. Well, I passed my test. It took 45 hours. Each test was graded, and it was very joyful every time you went, oh, I got an 85%. I passed that one, whoo, and it's just a really great review for us as professionals to show that we are keeping ourselves updated, and we're also providing quality service to our clients, whether they're buyers or sellers. So guys, do not just take the headlines of the media and apply it to the truth of what is really going on. I think that this change from the NAR agreement is going to improve the real estate industry. I'm not worried about it, and neither should you be. So if you have any questions about what we talked about today, or any other articles that come into the media that you'd like to discuss with me, just give me a call. I'm CJ Jenkins from Century 21 Cornerstone. My number is 530-906-4715, and I really would enjoy setting those myths aside and really deep down getting into the truth of what's really happening with the real estate market today. Thank you so much for joining us at Lake of the Pines Living Facebook and Christine Jenkins YouTube channel. It's so nice to be with you guys. Bye-bye.